Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Mixed Tank Takeover series. Today we have the one, the only Fab Dupont. How's it going, Fab?
Life is good.
Nice. Awesome. This is going to be awesome. So, a quick word about how this works. So, Fab is going to be listening through your mixes that have been submitted on Mixtank at puremix.net. And instead of us watching him type all of his comments, he's going to speak in real time to the camera after he listens, and then paste a YouTube link in the comments. So if you're watching this stream after the fact and you want to hear what Fab said about your mix, you can look in the comments of your mix that you posted on Mixtank, click on the YouTube link, and then find his comments on your song. So without further ado, Fab, if you want to share your screen and then take it away.
I believe my screen's shared.
Okay, yep. Let me get you going here. It is shared. And
amazing when shit works. All right.
There you are. Okay.
All right, here we go. So I'm going to mute you so we don't have a feedback.
Great.
And I'm going to start listening. All right. I hope everybody's doing well. Who is my first contestant? GQ Music, Strong in a Earth. Let's listen to that. Because that's how life works. 1 second. Slight technical problem. It worked a second ago, promise. Oh, yeah, of course. My fault. Love technology. Give me 1 second. Mark, I'm going to have to restart Brave.
Cool. No worries. Go back to...
There you go. Brave. Let's go, it said. Good idea. Here we go. Application. Brave. Run. How's this? Not working.
A little warbly. Do you have me right now, Fab?
I do.
Oh, nice. Cool. Okay, so while you're tweaking on stuff, I'm just going to talk about Mixtank a little bit. So for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, Mixtank is part of Puremix.net, where you can go and submit your mixes and get feedback from other Puremix members. And then also part of the Puremix team is in there commenting on mixes from time to time. So it can be super useful. Yeah.
Yay.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So what Fab's doing right now, for anybody who's interested, we have a crazy thing going on with loopback and audio hijack to try and send audio back to me to route it to the stream, which was working great right before we went live.
That's the way it is. Okay, so how is this working?
It's good. It's just a little digital.
Well,
so
what if
bad
it
stream kind of thing?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to mute it and start it again. Get rid of this. We're trained professionals here, people. Don't try this at home. This is all off. Can you see all the stuff I'm doing?
I took it off the screen for right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much how life is these days.
Yeah.
Loop back, audio hijack, and lots of restarts. So let me see. In theory, I'm going to mute you and I'm going to play the song for a second. Strong in the earth. Here we go. Here we go. Are we happy with that?
I think we are. One more second of it. Give me one more second of it. Yeah.
Strong in the earth. Strong in the earth. Strong in the earth. Yeah, you have to be strong in the earth. It's done for the most I got for the strength that we have in the earth.
How are you feeling about this?
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right. All right. So this did not happen. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Let's listen to some music. Pause here. This is great. So the style says reggae. In my opinion, and I may be wrong, this may be what's going on in Jamaica right now, but there's a lot of Afrobeat quality to this. A lot of stuff coming from the more of an Nigerian vibe. And so there are certain precepts, not presets, precepts in that kind of music. Like if you listen to techno with a K, like maybe in a song called Pana, you hear certain places. So the song, I think the song's cool, is based on a one chord progression that runs around the whole time. So it's your job as a producer mixer to make sure that that's always fresh. And one way to do that would be to create more sections by muting some things in certain sections. The whole intro is great. The clap is just the way it should be. That's the sound. I feel that the bass drum, for example, could be more present on the chorus, which should be around here. I really feel that you could take more advantage of the bass drum placement to be able to create more of a lift on this section, because you're adding stuff on the left, you're adding stuff on the right. There's a synth coming in, there's a guitar supporting towards the end here. A little Mozambique style guitar there. All that is, I believe, attempts to keep the stuff interesting by adding more things. Maybe rebalancing things that you already have may work. For example, that bass drum, and then maybe muting some things instead of adding things to create space and thus have this vacuum feeling that gives you the contrast you need from section to section. The chorus, I love the chorus melody. It's really cool. I let's see where you go after that.
Help one, bless one. That is how Jaja come blessing and man overcome. Anything that Babylon try showing how we way.
Bottom, the 808 or whatever it is really well managed. That's cool. That's usually hard to do. You're doing great there.
It's a Vatican City. When you see me, don't listen, man, I'm militant, Now if you know what life is worth, you will look for yours and earth. Time of past and time of time. Yeah, you have to strong in the earth. Give thanks for the wars and God for the strength that we have in the earth. And pray for the youth of the cause and the pride that we have in the earth. Give thanks for the farmer providing the food that we have in the earth. Say me a pray for the human race, make a change, guys, what? Yeah, pray for the human race, make a change, guys, what? Yeah, pray for the human race, make a change, guys, what? A Papa and Janai, no celebration, no. One nation. See that?
Oh, you're not repeating the awesome part. Maybe we consider repeating the awesome part. I think that all the elements on this track are there. I think there may be too many. If I were like, if I were you A&R in a record label and you trusted me, I would tell you, man, so much. There's like 2 songs in 1 song there. How about, we keep this hook and then repeat it because it's cool. And maybe get rid of all the ear candy and go back to like really pure raw. Make sure that the pocket hits hard by making space for your bass drum and then turning all those little details on one by one and choosing when they appeared so that they're really an event as opposed to being this more of a blanket of sound all the time. This is a really cool track, but I think you're leaving some meat on the bone, to speak French, by not repeating this part here. That's money there. So that's it. That's my feedback on your track. So here I'm supposed to paste something. Hold on. Boom. All right. Great work, though. That's really nice. Next, 9 Lives, Rock, by Dupont with an A. Here we go. Pro level.
I don't regret all the things that I've seen. Got drunk, got lost, man, down bad scene. And I did it all again like every week. Someone come and take me home. I don't recognize anyone I know. I've made 8 big mistakes, but you know what they say, though. This is cause of my legs. Let's do this. She back then had a bunch of fake friends. I lit that torch and burned both ends. And no one came to take me home. When I called the doctor, it was from my bone. And I died 8 times. But you know what they say, though. No, they don't say that. They say cut off my lives. They say cats have 9 lives. They say they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Down with all
Wow, that's fierce. Cool. Awesome. Great singer, really great singer, and really cool song. Nice premise, great playing. I love all the hidden like cool little details, flangers on the transitions and all that cool stuff. I think that my main comment on this is that it doesn't hit hard below the belt, meaning that the right tom, the low tom, is fatter than the bass drum. And I realize it's a stylistic choice there that, those kinds of tracks tend to be a little thinner than usual, than say a hip hop track or even a pop track when it's not crushed. But the thing is, you're clearly looking for energy, right? And so when you have this big tom thing, and then the downbeat after that doesn't go boom, it feels a little hollow in the middle. And that may be because of too much two-bus compression, or maybe because it's pretty thick with stuff and you're having a hard time prioritizing the center of the bottom center of the track. I think it would really behoove you to go back, for example, here. I heard something. Yeah. So your bass drum could do the trick if it were 6 dBs louder, I think, in my opinion. Of course, all this is, opinion, but it's my takeover. So I do what I want, and I'll cry if I want to. So I think that if you raise the bass drum 3 to 6 and raise the bass 3 to 6 and make sure that they have that grit in the 200 area, then when the chorus hits, it's going to go boom, as opposed to go a little top heavy with a more of a hollow kind of, I can't connect with the bass drum there, which is a shame because the rest of the track is great. The playing is great. All the cool little production ideas are really special, and the singer is awesome. And this bridge is really nice. That's epic.
You say they have one.
There's a little bit of a mask on the vocal there. Be careful.
You say they have one.
Grabs in like 250 area. Be careful.
3, 4.
Somebody got closer to the mic. That's what I was looking for. Check this out. Then go, boom. It goes instead of boom. I think you want boom. This is a great track. It's worth a recall. Try it. Send me a postcard. This is great. Very nice. Wow. Awesome. That makes me happy to know that like good music like this is being made. You guys rock. All right. Next, Gary, Flendy Bob. Oh, there's comments on the right. I forgot to read the comments. Hopefully the last version of this one. You can't say things like that. That you're setting yourself up for a redo. There's rules. You can never ever use the word final on any file that involves music. That's not possible, because you're going to end up with final and then final 2, final 3, final. This is the one final, and then you're going to start cursing in the file name. So you can't say last version. Can't say that. And wait. You say the voice is a bit spitty, but I think it goes well with this song. I'm going to let you know what I think. Here we go. Huh. This is great. So we all know where this song comes from. As the one of the singers in that band told me right over there, as they said, I was in a band in the '60s. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a pretty good band. Yeah, pretty good band. So this is great. The playing is great, and it's very reminiscent and kind of an evolution of a song we know. It's cool. Actually, several songs we know put together, really interesting. The playing is off the charts, and the mix is actually, I feel, very. I don't think the vocal is pity. Maybe there's a couple S's you could go and bring down by hand. So no, it's not the last version, unless you want it to be. I have this weird feeling here. Let's listen to the bass drum placement, yeah? It seems to me that you're trying to make the chorus lift by raising the bass drum. And what happens is that it's not, I don't think it's doing what you think it was doing. It's basically putting the bass drum in front of the track. If you want, you could achieve more by leaving the bass drum right side, because it was pretty cool, and just raising the whole mix bus a little bit. But you can't tell your mom, because that's frowned upon in certain circles. Probably your mom's, so I know my mom, when she sees me do that, she takes me off her will. So I basically have no inheritance left. But basically what you're trying to do is make the chorus lift. Cool. Make the chorus lift, the whole chorus. Raise the whole mix bus or the input into your compressor or something by a half dB. You'll get a better effect. The other thing is, I feel that this is really cool, but maybe it'd be even cooler if you ran the whole mix through a tape plugin, like the UA ATR or the Waves Kramer or tape. I think it's called Kramer tape, or the UA A800, which is my personal favorite. Some people love the ATR better. I don't. The ATR for me is too much, too caricatural, and I think would you get some of that saturation if you did that. And you would play with the HF and low F LF playback system. It's not an EQ, it's like a bias thing, and I think you would get even more of that feel that you're looking for. The feeling of that kind of like saturated tapey thing, which is very appropriate for this. This is great work. I think the vocal's fine besides those S's. Let's see what you do after. Ooh, Picasso. Oh, bridge. You could also here raise your bass. Not grabbing me like it should. I think you could gain a little more energy. Maybe that's what you do on the chorus instead of the bass drum. No, it's fine there. Here you're losing it a little. Great job. This is cool. I just let you know what I thought. It's cool, man. Very good. Great singer too. Are you the singer, Gary? Very nice. Ghost Town, Petercraft, recorded mostly with ribbon mix. Oh, and mixed mostly in analog through an API desk. Okay. Final mix. Mm-hmm.
Troubled soul, are you there? I don't feel you anymore. Empty streets, a siren prayer. Every day a new war. We've all let you down. Turn the world into a ghost town. Everybody's holding on for dear life. Every minute takes another dear life. Hopeless tears, don't you start, or you might never stop. How are you, shattered? How are you, shattered heart, emptied out with each drop?
I'm hearing clicks.
With each drop.
Yeah, there's little clicks here and there.
We've all let you down. Turn the whole world into a ghost town. Everybody's holding on for dear life. Every minute takes another dear life. Everybody's holding on for dear life. Every minute takes another dear life.
Cool. So very nice vibe. Very peaceful. The ribbon is vibe is great for this. I remember doing the first Will Knox record with all ribbons, and that gave a real good texture to it. So my feedback here is, since you're going for this vibe, which is like super mellow and intimate, I feel that cymbal is in the way. Like it's right dead center, right behind the vocal, and it's quite loud. And maybe you could open, and I know it's difficult because you have the piano on the right, and then you have the guitar on the left, and it's like, where do I put the rest, right? So I think that you would benefit from opening up the drums a little bit, and maybe lowering that overhead cymbal microphone to leave more space for the vocal, not to make the vocal louder, just to let it sing in peace. Also, be careful with those little clicks. And then
We've all let you down.
there's a couple notes that you may want to tune if that's not against your religion. just because everything is so pristine that anything that's a tiny little bit off, it's going to stick out. For example, we'll let you down.
I'll let you down.
That could be a little bit jacked up, and then I would be a little brighter in relationship to the track and probably go through better. The other thing that I feel you may want to look into if you want to enhance this is the bass.
Every minute takes another delight.
So you have your vocal here, and then you have the bass drum that hangs out here, and then you have like an opportunity here. You have space because the piano is on the right, the guitar is mostly on the left, and so there's a space there that you could really do. You could support the vocal more with the bass under it, and if you lower the cymbal, you may feel the need for that a little more. What else did I have in mind? So those clicks, you got to find those clicks because they're in the way. Also here, you have a stick noise. Again, in the spirit of making this kind of pristine Al Schmidt style moment, you can't have that stick noise because that's a distraction from the serenity of it all. What else?
Troubled soul.
Also, there's a little mask on the vocal somewhere.
Every minute.
It's here.
Hopeless tears. Hopeless tears. Don't you stop.
On the word hopeless, the vocal changes place in the track because it's got that grab at like 130, 140. You may want to, just for this one word, automate. That's what I would do because I'm not OCD. I'm OCD. So I would probably go and automate an EQ just for that one word. So the vocal doesn't change tone. Maybe you lean toward the microphone a little bit.
Hopeless tears, don't you stop.
Hopeless tears is this little ring at the bottom, which I think is, it's not the end of the world, but you have the tools, so you could fix it. But overall, very good work. The ribbon thing works good. Just if you're gonna go for something so transparent and exposed, everything has to be perfect. They can't be a hair out of place. And so that's my feedback. Let me paste this here. Oops, I failed. I don't know how to paste things. Gah. Et voilà. All right. Next. Why don't you back Crux Crucis Beats. All right, that's a cool name. Thinking of adding this to my portfolio, would love some feedback. Maybe it's a little light in the 150 area, but I'm losing my mind. I know that feeling. Let's hear.
I used to love you, now I don't care anymore. You overreact medicinally. With the smoke in your breath, you're not listening. Dizzy dialogue, pretending I talk like hard pressure on platonic subtleties. You come and tease. You gotta love the love that you're giving. You gotta love the love that you're giving. Why don't you love the love that I'm giving? Why don't you? Why don't you? You gotta love the love that you're giving. You gotta love the love that you're giving. Why don't you love the love that I'm giving? Why don't you? Why don't you? You cleanse your palate, mixing modern time with liquor. It's clear you lost your bounds, fixing callous conversations of fear. The only light in you is artificial, simple and dull. So uninvited, since you sold your soul. You gotta love the love that you're giving. You gotta love the love that you're giving. Why don't you love the love that I'm giving? Why don't you? Why don't you? You gotta love the love that you're giving. You gotta love the love that you're giving. Why don't you love the love that I'm giving? Why don't you? Why don't you?
I see what your problem is. So cool. What you're trying to do is you're trying to grow on the chorus, and by to do so, you're making a smaller verse, and then when the chorus happens, there's a lot of stuff and everything's in the way. I think that you're not very far from success. What I would do is I would mute everything except the drums and the vocal, lead vocal, just the lead vocal. And I would massage that so that you can really get a vertical picture. Right now, everything feels pretty short. I don't feel a big extension between the top of the vocal and the bottom of the bass drum. One thing you could try is on that bass drum and the one that's on the chorus, the big one. To play with volume between the snare and the kick and the vocal, so that you really get this trium thing like this, and then make the bass drum feel like it's a little forward. One interesting way to do that is you could cut some 500 out of this. Just use a smooth EQ that has a nice transformer vibe, and then lower 500. Couple dBs, 3 dBs, and then you'll see that what it's going to do is it's going to go from here and it's going to help do this a little bit. And then you may want, if you have the UAD Pultec, if you own an Apollo, you have the UAD Pultec legacy thing. So cut 500 there and then add some 20 reasonably. And then it's going to do this. And then once you have this on your chorus, then you can very gently add only the stuff you need. I hear like a very quiet stereo strumming guitar. And then all those cool kind of Juno 60 style synths, and that's nice. You may have to make some choices. One way to do this is you could choose every track, and then if you turn them up like insane amount, like 6 dBs, and see how it feels, and then bring them back down, and then turn them down 6 dBs and see how it feels. And then if when you turn them down 6 dBs, you don't miss them, just get rid of them. Mute them. Most powerful plugin in the world, the mute button. And go to the essential, because what matters is what you're saying and the energy coming out of it. And so for that first verse here, I don't think it does what you want it to do. Basically, it feels it doesn't. Not enough is happening because you're throttling it to let that chorus really grow. I think that the chorus will grow no matter what you do. First, because it's a pick up into it, and then you have this guitar coming on the stereo. Maybe the bass drum on the verse has to be the same as the bass drum on the chorus. Maybe you won't take too much from the explosion and make the verse more grabby and more intense. But I think that's your problem, and maybe a smidgen too much compression on the mix bus. What happens if you relax that a little bit and not trying to make the loudest track on earth, and try to make the tallest track on earth? Try and do that thing, and that's when you're going to create space to put your other goodies. How do you get out of your bridge? Same problem with the bass drum as in the verse here. Problem. So your problem is that it's not light in the 150. Not particularly. What I think it is everything is too bunched up together, and that's it through compression and also through lack of sacrifice, meaning that you're going to have to sacrifice some things for it to feel clear, open, and punchy. The mids of the bass drum would be a good place to start. And the sub of the bass also, because here, check it out. You gotta love the love that you're giving. Why don't you love the love that I'm giving? Why don't you? It's got a bit of a mask, like a bump around 90 hertz that prevents you from jacking it up and putting the energy. So I think that if you look at, actually, I'm going to let me rephrase what I said earlier. If you look at your song as a bass, drum, vocal trio and mute everything else, so it's really clear in your mind, you should be able to create that verticality, that kind of like space, and then you can add all those cool arpeggiated synths. Maybe you want to high pass those so that they don't stand in the way of the bottom, and then you will get that feel again. And I think you could really get a cool track out of this. You really could. That's my feedback. And I think you can really easily in an afternoon make this really soar using these little tricks. Voila. As we say over there in the old world. Let's see. Escape by Kalhan. Balance of music vocal, the stereo field. That's what I always say. Here we go.
I know you find it hard to put your trust in me. You've been broken, you're hurt, and I see there's nothing left in your mind but insecurities. I will hold you, but only if you let me. Left or right doesn't matter, I'll be by your side. Don't think twice, be the Bonnie to my Clyde. Just one look and I can't get you off my mind. I am with you, the same. I've lost my mind in your embrace. Just take me with you in your arms, I swear I'll stay. Take me to another place, one where I can get away. In your arms is where I'll find my escape. Just take me to another place, one where I can get away. In your arms is where I'll find my escape. In your arms is where I'll find my escape.
Cool. All right. Short. Okay. Great singer. Reminds me of Amber. I did that UA video with her 10 years ago. If you want to enhance, this is great. She's a really wonderful singer. If you want to enhance this, I think you should pay attention to the vocal levels and presence. Basically, it changes a lot, and that disconnects me from her statements. If you look here, listen here.
To my Clyde. Just one look
So
and
for
I
this phrase, she's here.
twice be the Bonnie to my Clyde. Just one look and I can't get you off.
And then she moves back and she comes back in. And then here for the first phrase, she's very close.
I am with you, the same. I've
And then
lost
she just steps up. So that thing is a problem. So that could be achieved by maybe more compression or different compression. I don't know what you're using on her vocal, or meticulous gain writing while listening on a small speaker. That's what I do. The way I do most of my vocal placement is I switch to a mono Orotone, which is a shitty speaker, and it gets rid of all the bells and whistles, and all you hear is basically the mids, and so you can hear the connection between the music and the vocal better, and that allows you to make sure that your vocal is very consistent. So I would say that's the number one thing I would do on this track, is I would revisit the whole vocal placement of the track so it's consistent, and I would decide what I want. Do I want it to feel this way?
I am with you, the same. I'm
That first phrase, I'm with you. Or do I want it to be more like the verse here,
left in your mind, but insecurity.
which is a smidgen behind? For that to happen, I would say you could extend the bottom a little.
If you let me, left or right doesn't matter.
That low held note could be a little louder, provide some context. So basically, the vocal would not be louder or softer, but would feel more enveloped by the music. without raising the piano. You can't raise the piano. I'm sure you realize that if you raise the piano, then you have problems with the vocal. If you raise the vocals, you don't hear the piano. So you got to keep that balance consistent. You could use your other stuff to create the illusion of a rap around the vocal. And then there's this part right here, which is really tough. So here, because she's loud, I guess your compressor is freaking out, and so she's too far. So here you would ride her forward, and that's really tough because when singers let go like this and really get loud, then all hell breaks loose on the gain stage, and it could be difficult to place it in a natural sounding way, so it doesn't stick out, but also not lose them. And then if it's very compressed, you lose your transients. So all of a sudden it gets smooth and you don't connect with the vocal anymore. So you did a very good job. The song is good. She's a great singer, but I think you could use a couple passes of, even if you don't touch the compressor, vocal writing in context on a small speaker, not headphones, not a big loudspeaker, just a small speaker, quiet, so that you can really hear the relationship between the piano and the vocal and make sure that these changes don't happen anymore. And then you're there. So voila, I paste, therefore I am. Next, Trespass from La Lola. Hi guys, I'm working on this track. I would appreciate your comments about the mix. As this is my own project, I would also appreciate any comment or advice you could give me about production arrangements. Thanks, Eduardo. Here we go. I don't think I agree with your style description of hip hop. To me, it sounds more like Pink Floyd meets Nine Inch Nails, and in that spirit, I think that there are some things you may want to look into. Like all your tones are really cool and interesting. So if you're gonna have a ultra Nine Inch Nails style, kind of like early Nine Inch Nails style bass drum, you have to have the snare drum that goes with it, not to match, but just to hold its own. So I feel like I hear a very big bass drum, and very kind of like electronic-y, very cold and very robotic. And then I hear kind of like a, small 808-ish kind of snare drum. Sounds like an 808 snare drum with a big crusher on it. And so I think that you may want to déjà already raise your snare so you have this cell, this element in your music that holds together. Second, I think that what you're trying to do with the 60 note pickup on the bass drum, if you lowered, and it's designed to help the groove, but I think that because both velocities on those two bass drums are kind of the same, it's actually not doing what it should do. And so if you lowered the velocity of the first of those two bass drums when you do cut it, or if you filtered the first one and let the first one full range, you would get more of what you're trying to achieve. The other thing is, I love all the time fuzziness when you are, kind of like, is it a 60th note triplet, or I don't know what it is, but when you're playing with the time and things feel chaotic, that's great. So here, instead of soaring, it kind of collapses a little bit because probably too much compression on the mix bus. I'm not feeling this, which clearly that's what you want to do with that pad and that stuff. So I would say you have a gain stage issue here where everything is loud, and so you can't make something feel louder than something else, or you cannot soar out of it. So what I would do is the things I just told you about. And then I would try and give myself a little more headroom, both in level and in arrangement, so that if you hear here, that's kind of cool, by the way, that the downbeat is literally symmetrical, which is cool. Right here, a big pad, the bass, the drums who are now kind of like smothered by all that stuff. Then there's a guitar that's on the right, there's another one answering on the left, and there's all this stuff going on, and then you have your main lead in the middle. It's maybe too much. Maybe the pads could be high passed and lowered so that you still keep the drums. The drums can't be smothered or buried by the rest. And then once you have that, then you can start adding other things. Lower everything except your three main things, and then add the rest back, kind of like I mentioned earlier. Because this stuff is difficult. It's very minimalistic in the spirit of it, but everything takes a lot of room. And so how do you create the interest? How do you finish it? That is some fierce polyrhythms right there. It is a 60th note triplet. Cool. This is all cool stuff. I think that if you try and simplify as much as possible and create as much contrast as possible, then you'll be able to get something cool out of it. And I don't think you should call it hip hop. I think you should call it something else, your own thing. Invent a style, but I don't think it would fly in Brooklyn. Just saying. All right, let's see. Hammer Down by Timothy0103. No comments. Let's rock. fierce, manly shit. Love it. All right. So, very cool. I just saw Tim's comment. Thank you. Ring the bell if you come to NYC. We're here 9 a.m. through 3 a.m. 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. every day. Okay, so this track sounds exactly the way the format and the idiom of this style of music should sound. I don't listen to this music a lot, but when I listen to it, that's exactly what it sounds like. So Timothy just did it. It's rocking. I'm wondering what it's doing. The drum is crazy. The sample for the bass drum is just so right on. What is happening here? There's a little dip in energy. Let's find out. Singer. All right, so now my feedback is this. What if it didn't sound exactly the way it should? What if this were an opportunity to do something a little different? For example, I mean, this should be a track. This is something you should send to Joe Barresi, and he would like send you more qualified feedback because he knows his music more than I do. But my first feeling when I hear this, I want to hear the bass as much as I want to hear the guitars, right? And right now I hear it goes and it goes poof, and I hear these crazy cool guitars and that bass drum that's like that kind of punch in my face, but I don't hear the at the bottom. You know, I hear that Bogner or Hi-Watt sound on the right, but I don't hear the SVT, bass or the what was those amps, Hard K amps that had that clank in the top, but also have this fierce like 200 thing. And so I would love to hear that on this track. When it hits, there's all this like bright, transient, in your face shit, and then the chorus hits, and I want to hear, and I don't hear that. And that's what I would do if you came to me. Say if I had a label and say, hey, would you like to sign this? I'm like, you guys are badass, but what are you how are you going to be different? Like maybe you could put some bass back into the style. And I would like to hear what it would sound like if you had like either R bass or if you just jack the level up. I can't really hear the bass at all. Saying, can you guys play this live? It's crazy. I want to see this live. I would really like to hear a serious like anchor in the middle with bass, like that just does it in the style. Distorted's fine, not too distorted to not have bottom, but like that's what I would say about this. And also be careful on your vocal here. Open road in, there's like a super sharp transient. Something's distorted. That should not be distorted because your vocal is kind of like the honey on top of this like aggression thing, and so that should not be happening right there. It's either a compressor that's too fast on the release and freaking out, or one of your plugins is not having a good day at that moment. Might want to look into that. And the rest is just rocking. Awesome. Very nice. And yes, do come ring the bell. Next, reggae. FEXS. Early mix. Hi, friends of mine recorded this song and we produced it together. The song is still in production status and a rough mix. It's a good point to get feedback. Yes. On what to look for when mixing, or maybe you should change something to the arrangement. Thanks for the feedback, Felix. All right, Felix, let's listen.
to lose, only so much more to win. I'm just trying to stay positive, no matter how deep the abyss is. Call me a fool or call me an optimist. My medication for all of your bitterness. I'm just trying to stay positive. No one knows who the redeemer is. Call me pathetic or a sentimentalist. This is my cure for all of your emptiness.
I stay positive, try to be positive. I stay positive, try to be positive. I stay positive, try to be positive. I stay positive, try to be positive.
Everyone is telling you that you don't have enough. You should optimize yourself and buy more useless stuff. Stakes are high and it's getting also rough, but the sunny side of life, I'm willing to be tough. I'm just trying to stay positive, no matter how deep the abyss is. Call me a fool or call me an optimist. My medication for all of your bitterness. I'm just trying to stay positive. No one knows who the redeemer is. Call me pathetic or a sentimentalist. This is my cure for all of your emptiness.
I stay positive, try to be positive. I stay positive, try to be positive. I stay positive, try to be positive. I stay positive, try to be positive.
All right. So you have all the tones are pointing to the style, reggae. It's the right organ, it's the right drum fills, and everything is cool. To me, at this tempo, with this spirit, and especially with this non-traditional pocket on the drums, maybe it's bordering on more of the ska kind of vibe than reggae. But you know, especially with the horns the way they are, it's more like a ska thing. But maybe we don't have a ska choice when you choose the style on Mixtank. I don't know. I should know, but I don't know. But my feedback to you is this is going to be very hard to mix because it's not tight. And so there's a lot of push and pull. And the whole thing, I love the vibe of the singer. I love the effect on the male singer who comes after. All that is the right vibe. But the music doesn't have the right vibe because it doesn't groove right, because the drums are pushing and they're not steady, and so unless you're looking for more of a chaotic feel, then that would work. But I don't think that that's what you're looking for. You have a really strong delivery on the vocals. I think you're looking for something that's anchored behind, and so the way to do that is probably to go reference how those tracks feel. Maybe listen to some Sly and Robbie or listen to some early Toots, because this is kind of like an early Toots kind of thing. Toots and the Maytals, and just go to town editing those drums if you cannot recut them, or if your drummer hasn't reached a point in his journey on the playing side where he's able to hold a pocket that feels like a reggae pocket the whole time. Maybe you guys were not playing together. Maybe there was no click. Maybe people are pushing, pulling. But if your point is to provide a proper bed for these really good vocals, then I would really look hard at the playing on this track by piecing things together. If you find a bar that feels good, loop it, and because nobody cares. What people care about is how it feels, and right now it doesn't feel right. There's a lot of fuzziness in the time.
Be positive. I say positive, try to be positive. I say positive, try to be positive.
It's mostly the drums, but the bass also a little bit.
So much more to win. I'm just
See that,
trying.
David?
Only so much more to win. I'm just
Everybody agrees where one is, and you should. One's crucial.
trying to stay positive, no matter how deep the abyss is. Call me a fool or call me an optimist. My medication for all of your bitterness. I'm just trying.
The horn-like texture is rushing too. I think your salvation on this track, if you want to, and it has the potential of being really great, is to edit the shit out of the track. to a click, and to make sure that it feels bananas. And once you have that, then you can start thinking of mixing it. Otherwise, whoever's going to mix this is going to have a really hard time, because very interestingly, the better the groove and the more together the music is, the way the music feels influences how tough or easy it is to mix. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. If the arrangement doesn't gel, then you have a very difficult time, much more difficult time mixing. And even if the stuff is not necessarily really well recorded, but it feels good on the playing, then it can be timeless. For example, Motown, some of those sounds questionable, but it feels great, and so we still listen to it 60 years later. So I think that's my advice to you is put on your editing hat, either re-record a track to a click, keep the vocals, keep all the textures, all the sounds are great, but make it feel good. Let's see. Awesome. Oh, I'm getting a call from Mark Abrams. What up?
So we have a huge YouTube audience here, and a lot of them are fingers crossed that you get their mix. And
Okay.
They responded quickly to the email that went out 2 hours ago.
Okay.
So I have a list of people that I text over to you that are in the chat.
Okay.
Let me try and hit those guys.
I could try. How do I do that?
Okay, so I have their song names in the text message.
Aight. Sounds good.
And yeah, we'll search for them on the left.
All right. And how do I find them? I just do a search?
Yeah.
All right. I can do that. I've done searches before. I think I can handle this.
Okay, awesome.
All right. So let's try it.
That's great.
Okay. Bye. The fun never ends. Oh, I'm getting lots of texts from Mark Abrams. Must be important. Let me check. Hey, do you see this? Well, no, I didn't. I was focused on the music, dude. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to do what I'm told. Beep, beep. Yeah, I saw it, Mark. AIM, so MIJH. So let's see if I can find it this way. The Seed of Your Sorrow. All right. Hi, guys. New mix featuring Spitting Ibex. Okay, pop. Advice on the low end. Does it sound too dynamic? There's no such thing. Does the band sound muddy to you? I'll feel sometimes the miss. Okay, I'm just going to listen.
Could you tell me what does it need to be free? Oh, I can see people are blinded by their anxieties. Prisoners of hate, oh, the slaves of major insecurities. You will reap what you sow, oh, the seeds of your sorrow. You can deny it, you breathe it in your heart.
Intoxication caused by the venom you're spitting. It ain't true just because it's written.
You can deny it, you breathe it in your heart.
Compassion and love need to appear. Detone temptation of anger and fear.
All right, cool. It's amazing the amount of great singers I'm listening to today. It's really great. All right, so I think that the vocal's a little bright. I think that 300 push was not necessary. It's a little too bunched up there, I think. The playing is great, the singing is great, the song's cool. I love the rap part.
Love me to
And
appear.
then, you hear the bass drum.
What does it mean to live a life in unity?
So I think that it's really a balance thing, that what you may want to look into. Same thing with the bass drum as earlier. I believe that it would be interesting if you explored trying to generate more height in this mix. First, by basically pushing some of the mids away on the bass drum to let it do this. So try the 500 thing, maybe a little bit of 20 on a very gentle, maybe with the backs or with a pull tech, and you will get this thing. And then that'll make more room in the middle, which oddly enough will allow you to make the vocal less bright. Like, it's great, but I don't feel anything below the throat. It's just a head for me right now. It could be a little fatter. So if you have the pull tech, you could put some 200 and some 100 in there. Or if you have sugar, which you should, since you're probably a Puremix Pro member, then use the mid band in sugar in broad and just try and make her feel taller too. And then that's going to inform the rest. I think your bass is a little muddy in the 90 and the 200 area. And that's creating problems.
Intoxication caused by the venom you're spitting. It ain't true.
More 90. And if you fix those things, all of a sudden the pieces of the puzzle are going to work together more, and you won't have to try as hard to make it so. So that's my feedback on this. You're not far from good success. It's just, how can I put this? Sometimes one element in the mix just pushes everything in a certain direction. So I think that the spitty, bright, forward quality of the vocal is basically pushed you to compensate for it elsewhere. If you mute everything, do the vocal, and do that thing, maybe with sugar or maybe with a pull tech or both, and then maybe use an LA2 on there to even out a little bit and make it a little more saturated, and then slowly add your piano, and then add the drums around that and see if that feels good, and then you can add the rest after that. Good work. I'm going to put the thingy in there. Yay. So Danny, ECM style jazz. I listened to a little bit of that in my day. We'll go Danny Zeman, passionate. Me too. Updated mix with cleaner brush sounds, cleaned up EQ, less compression overall. Always a good idea. Played bass, mixed this jazz ballad written by a drummer. You let your drummer write songs? The guitarist is a rather famous jazz guitarist who'll keep anonymous. While I generally feel good about the use of compression, EQ, and general color of everything, I would love feedback on any of those, along with comments on the reverb, stereo depth. Bass is super beefy. It was mixed by a bassist. Cute. All right, let's hear it. Rich. right, two things. I think that, I mean, if you advertise ECM style, then maybe we could look into the positioning and space of the drums. Like all this close mic action feels a little too, it's not slick enough for, in my opinion, for what you're trying to do if you're really trying to go ECM in the vibe. I would rely on your overheads more, and also so that the snare brushes are not so bright, and so that you get more of a space, not a distant space, because, you know, ECM is like ultra clean, but there's not that kind of like asperities, this kind of like grit to it. It has to be smooth, and for that I would push the drums away a little bit by raising the overheads and lowering the close mic on the snare. First thing I would do. Second, I would consider sharing reverb between the guitar and the drums, so that you get this kind of like feeling of that smooth, kind of like ultra slick that those records had. The other thing is on your bass. I found it just right there. There's a resonance. I think it's 95. That, and it's in the way, and you can hear it coming. Hear that on that? Even on the notes that are under the resonance, you can hear it be a little woody. And I think it would behoove you to either check the phase between those two mics, or make sure at that moment that either you EQ that, or you just place your chain so that that doesn't stick out, because that's also something that those records had, that they were just smooth, and so nothing ever stuck out. It's like you were looking at the music from a distance as opposed to being in the music, but that the distance between you and the music was not there. I know it's weird, close but far at the same time. That's what they achieved. And so you're not far from it, but you got to be careful about those peaks in the bass. And I think that the sound of the drums is counterproductive. The sound of the guitar is perfect, but the sound of the drums is counterproductive if that's what you're going for. So I would that's what I would do. I hope this helps. Let's see. Paste, send. I was here. Let's see. Matthew Marzola. Okay, so I don't know how to spell Matthew. That's okay. It's not in the list. Let me search by the song title. Little Birds. Matt Mars. All right, here we go. Rock. Submitted a version of this song, got quality feedback when I was mixing it. This is the final master from an artist I work with who sang and played guitar, bass, played the drum keys, produced and mixed it. Would be excited to get Fab's feedback. Woo, loud. Master. He warned me. Sorry, guys.
Father, your brother told me not to call. If I did, it wouldn't end too well at all. Again, any little time I think about you, I hear those little words in my ear. Better write this down, better write this down. You should write this down. Yeah. All of your girlfriends told
So this is very well played, cool, fun, quirky track. My feedback would be like on this, and I know it's a master, it's finished. So I it's always disheartening when somebody comes in and tells you, I would do this, and say, dude, that's the master. But I would say I miss a little bit of the vocal. I would like to hear the vocal more.
Little time I think about us, I hear those little words in my head. Better write this down, better write this down. You
And I
should
would like to hear the bass more too. I hear that, bright, sampley bass drum that goes pluck, pluck, pluck. That's cool. That's the style. I'm down. But I'd like to hear the bass support that. Also, this part here,
sorry I'm not
the
with
vocals
you.
placed right here.
Something came up, it seems so made up. Using
All this actually feels, to me, this section is the one that feels the best. That's probably because it's quieter, thus not as compressed, thus the music has a space to breathe. So maybe it's a mastering thing where it's like, this was made very loud and thus took a little bit of the away from your original mix. That's very possible. Happens every day. To the best of us.
again. Any little time I think about you, I hear those little words.
Yeah,
in
I
my
would love to hear more of that part on there, right? I hear the pock of the bass drum. I would love to hear a little extension there to balance and a little more vocal, and then it's rocking. Let's see the bridge.
my biggest fear.
Better write this down, better write this down. You should write this.
Don't come back around, don't come back around, don't come back to town.
How fat those thumbs are compared to the bass drum. I think if you feel like unbrightening that bass drum a smidgen and fattening it a little bit, pushing the bass up a little bit and pushing the vocal up 1 dB on everything except that bridge, this part.
Sorry,
You may run into problems with your S's. There's pretty bright S's, but you can, it's fun. It's kind of like arts and crafts. You go in and you cut the little piece and you bring it down, and then you go find the next one. You get a little piece, you bring it down. It's nice, and then it looks pretty. It looks like lace. So you do that, and then everything else is rocking. The song is rocking. The playing is great. It's you're in very good shape. That's what I would do if I wanted to do revisions after a master. But that would never happen to me, that revisions I made after a master. Never happened last week at all. Let's see. I gotta paste this in. Boom. Great. Like the level, man, from the beginning of when we started Puremix with Guillaume to today, the quality of the music is wonderful. How much it's progressed. I'm really happy. I love it. That I am not that I should rise. Interesting. I don't know how to spell should. Rise. And you should not. Wow. I have to hear the song. I am not finding the song. Yes, I am finding the song. 3 hours ago by Green MX. Electronic. That's our first self-described electronic track. Any feedback welcome. Overall tone and balance, clarity, excitement, percussion, particular concerns, wondering if I'm lacking content in the low mids when the male vocals are not present. Mix has a slightly hollow sound to me in part. Let's see. The title of the song is That I Should Rise and You Should Not. That's fun.
you should not.
Woo.
I should rise. You should. I should rise. You should. You should. I should. I should.
Woo!
I should rise. You should. You should. I should. I should. I should rise. You should. You should.
Where does it go? Where does it go? This is some mad stuff. I love it. There's Auto Biscuit everywhere. All right, I don't know where you found this sample, but it's da bomb. Okay, I think that this I wouldn't worry too much about lacking content in Loom. It's not a concern. I think that your concern is more the 200 area that makes the whole thing feel a little muddy and not expansive with an A, which then could possibly make it expensive with an E. So love that Juno 60 thing there.
I should.
There's something going on. You probably don't hear because the very bottom is tight here. That's cool, but there's something here. So in your 200, so maybe you don't hear enough 200, and that's why you worry if it's lacking, and that's why you're pushing it so hard. So I think that it would behoove you to find a pair of headphones that you can trust. Here's what happened to me once, mixing a record for somebody really great, and who we were studio mates. And he gave me a chance. He was ahead of me in his career, and he gave me a chance to make something for a really big band I loved. And I had just moved to the room, and I had these speakers that I knew well enough to make a living, but maybe not well enough to make a killing. And so I mixed on it, but I knew it was a big deal, so I checked on my headphones too on a regular basis. It just turned out at that moment that my headphones were shot, and so I heard no bass on those headphones. They were shot, but I did not know that because they were shot over time, and I didn't use it very often. So if you don't have a trusting reference in listening reference, then you're screwed when you're in a critical situation. Now, I'm not talking 20 dBs here. I'm talking like 5-6 dBs, but 5-6 dBs on something that's so high fly is a problem. And so I turned in my mixes, and I was very diligent. I mixed. It sounded great in the room. I checked on my headphones. It sounded great on my headphones. Turned the mix in, and the guy said, the producer said, "It sounds really bassy and woolly." And I'm like, "Oh." So I went back and I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh no, it sounds fine. You're out of your mind." And so I lost that gig, and then I realized. And I was like, why this change with a complete different vision? And the reality is that at that spot in the room where I was sitting, my Dynaudios were exciting room in a way where at that spot, I heard nothing between 60 and 90. I mean, nothing. It was like a hole. And I had just moved to that room, so I did not know that because I didn't have the, over time, depending on the key, sometimes it comes in, it comes out, you don't know. And then my headphones were dead, so I had a perfect storm. And so I fucked up. And that's, I suspect that something similar is happening to you, that you don't hear 180 to 220 very well in your room. And so you feel that it's hollow, but it's not. It's actually a little bunched up there. So I would get myself a pair of headphones and learn them. And then maybe a pair of HD 600s, if you can find a pair that you can afford. Those are great. They're a little bassline, but they're great. And then, or a pair of these, the Spheres by Focal. Those are cheap, $50. Put them in, and then burn them in first, because when they come in, they are so bright, they hurt your nose. But after a few days of burning in, the Focal Spheres are a very good reference. And then listen to your mix in the headphones that you now trust, and then listen to it in the room. And the difference of the two is why you feel it's slightly hollow. It's not. It's actually, you need to carve out some of that stuff between 180 and 220, and you're going to gain a lot of energy in this mix. This, I wish I had your brain so that I could make music like this. This reminds me of Square Pusher. Remember Square Pusher? Pretty cool. Next song. Ali Farouk. Ali Farouk. Let me find your song, Ali. Look. Ali Farouk. Zakeya is Zakeya. Intro song. Rock. Interesting animated cartoon about a little girl superhero that's currently being broadcast on TV in multiple Arab countries. Try to go for a fun, catchy, listen present vocals and overall punchy track. Okay, let's see. I should also mention that I only had a couple hours to work on it to mix and master. Okay. Deadline are getting crazy and crazier. No shit. Did I do something right? Here we go.
زكية بحاجة لنظارة، لكن جاءت هزمة بين والديها محتارة، من الذي ترضيه الآن؟ زكية ذكية فتاة عبقرية، زكية ذكية بطلات قوية. فهد يتعقب حركتها، يحاول كشف هويتها، يفشل في عرض حقيقتها، وقناته قد نقصت فان. برجر وبطاطس مقلية، وجبة عبود الشهية، تدمرها زكية وتنقذه كل الأحيان. زكية ذكية فتاة عبقرية، زكية ذكية بطلات قوية. مهما امتلأت المدينة بوحوش سوف تؤذينا، زكية دوما تأتينا في الجو وفي الأوان. زكية ذكية فتاة عبقرية، زكية ذكية بطلات قوية.
Wow, fierce. There's a cartoon TV series in the US called Phineas and Ferb that I was subjected to by my child, all 26 seasons of it, and they do a lot of stuff like this, and their opening credits are kind of in this vibe. I mean, if you mixed and if you did this in 2 hours, it's fierce, it's crazy. So if you want to, I don't know what to tell you. This is ridiculous for 2 hours. You sing great too. If little things here.
سوف تؤذينا، زكية دوما تأتينا في الجو وفي الأوان. زكية امتلأت المدينة.
Sorry.
مهما امتلأت المدينة بوحوش.
Here the vocals grabbing a little bit in the 180 area, so you may want to be careful there.
مهما امتلأت المدينة.
See that thing? You got to be careful with that because it changes the relationship with the vocal. The other thing is you could use a little cleanup in the 200 to 300 area.
وقناته قد نقصت فان برجر وبطاطس مقلية وجبة عبود الشهية تدمرها ذكية وتنقذه كل الأحياء.
And there's a little bit of kind of like a, sorry guys, there's a little bit of transient peakiness, you know, like if you listen here on the toms,
تنقذه كل الأحياء.
that thing doesn't have to be there. You could just, you know, make them feel a little more natural by not having that shine. The vocal, everything else sounds cool. The vocal's a little bright. You could use something like Soothe too, or that other one, Golfos, to just like smooth out a vocal, or use the Kramer tape plugin and saturate it so that all those peaky transients are a little more smooth, and then you will get the sound. Also, you know, as I've said many times today, maybe it's a no bass day, but bass players are people too. Maybe not, but it's nice. It's nice to hear bass.
تنقذه كل الأحياء. ذكية فتاة عبقرية.
So the bass, I see what's happening. So the bass is very 60 like. I don't get a lot of the fingers and a lot of the drive of it in the 150 to 300 area there. So probably because there's so much stuff on the other tracks there that you just couldn't put it there. So maybe if you clean up that area on the bass drum, the bottom of the snare, and the guitars, then they'll give you room to make the bass a little more, you know, present, and thus justify the existence of the bass player in the universe that way. Cool work. This is fierce. Watch Phineas and Ferb if you haven't. The music on there, the music director on there is a badass. Next song, Sébastien. Must be a French guy. French but nice. Let's see. Sébastien is not there. Page Blanche. Definitely French guy. Page Blanche. Sébastien. It's a master. Makes a master this track for an artist friend. Olivier, Mobile Home Blues. On Guadalupe. All right, here we go.
La recette, toutes ces notes en désaccord parfait, le désordre qui jamais ne t'inquiète. Chaque jour, j'aimerais être un poète, trouver les mots qui te font perdre la tête. Des insomnies toujours les nuits noires, remplies de désespoir. Il faut que je sublime les mots et les rimes, trouver des belles nuances, pas rester page blanche. Hey. Hey. La musique.
All right. Pop music repeats. Cool. Great players. And great pocket, great vibe. My number one feedback is that it's bright, and so you have to be careful. But bright in a 3 and 8K kind of way, not in a gentle rising kind of way. So I think that it behooves you, especially the snare. That thing I don't think is necessary. I think that if you want to enhance this, I would remove whatever shelf you have on that snare top and find, you know, the depth of it. And then the other thing I would do is that would allow you to not have the vocal be so bright and so compressed.
Le désordre
See, when you see le désordre, that thing just goes because your compressor is opening back up. And then like you hear the transients on the car and all that stuff are jumping at you because it's so compressed. So you could ease up on the compression. This music's got to feel peace. And so if it's all in your face, even UB40 making their stuff with all glossy 80s cheesy thin stuff managed to achieve a certain peace. And so I think that if you lay off the compression, if you reopen your session and tame that snare top, everything is going to be easier. Everything. The other thing you might want to look into is nice chorus. So there's a 60 or 65 bump on that bass drum that conflicts with your bass. Hertz, 65 hertz. So if you carve that, a little bit of that on the bass drum, because the bass is supposed to be subby like this, right? So if you carve a little bit of that 60, 65, whatever, on the bass drum, and then move it forward a little bit, that'll have more anchor. You won't need the snare to be so bright. And then those toms, they have the same thing. Maybe it's your overheads that's too bright. I don't know. One of the toms is really bright. Number 2. Yeah. Yeah. I promise you, if you open this and you tame all those shelves and compress things less, the thing is going to bloom. It's going to feel awesome. And I like the sentiment of the lyrics. The horns are fierce. This is great, but it's too much of a good thing. So less compression, less shelf, back it up a little bit, and I think it's going to be great. You're going to do great with this. I'm having dinner with JC Maya, who's from Guadalupe tonight. So this is perfect. Let's see. My goodness. I'm getting, I don't know how much of this I can keep doing. Let's see. Roxy and Blair. Roxy and Blair. There you go. Pop. No waveform. Is that a bug? Yep. No. See the vibe. I think that I was reading your things there. I think that I would look for the thickness of the drums and build around that, because you don't have a problem getting great guitar sounds. But I think that your drum sounds are not at the level of your guitar sounds. super glossy 1988 snare, I think, is not in your favor. That is kind of like the track just before that sharp 5K to 10K on the snare. I think that ship sailed. I think you can let go of that and try reinvent this, finding a drum sound that works for you, for your aesthetic, but that also has its own flair that you would bring to the fore. That would allow to raise your drums and have a balance that's instead of being like this, have a balance that's more like this, right? Your drums are really in the back because there's not. If you bring them up, because the snare is so bright, then they're going to feel they're overpowering the rest, which I think you have a lot of leeway there. So if you say use a different snare sample or soften this one, as in like unbright, that's a word, right? And then try and find some thickness in the bottom of the drums and also the bottom of the snare. Just find some thickness and then put that forward and then add the rest of your track around. Then you'll have a more modern feel that I think you'll be happier with. And the way to do that, because you have such it's a lot of sauce, right? And so maybe if you mute the sauce and you go straight to the bones, and which is your lead, soaring lead guitar, the bass, and the drums, find a balance with that first, and make sure you never lose those drums once they feel good, and then slowly bring the rest around it, and if necessary, mutilate those big pads and stuff so that they're present, they do what you want emotionally, but they don't take all the space in the pie. You only had 100% pie of energy to share between all these things. And so if your pads take 50%, then you only have 50% left for the, rather crucial rhythm elements. So maybe the pads could have less than 50%. And then you would be able to still feel them, still give them the, have that lion, that sauce thing. But, I really yearn hearing more bottom from this track, more punch and more drum presence, so that the things that soar over it are really soaring over it, as opposed to just it being a ribbon of sound. Let's see where you go later. You're able to do it with your toms. This is what's happening. Yeah, I see what's happening. Your mix feels, if you look at it from the side, it feels like this. This is the high end, this is the bottom. The balance is like this. What you're looking for is this. You're looking for something where the top sits on the bottom like this, not forward like this. So if you kind of like the same problem as the track before from Sébastien, I think that was the name, but without the compression problem. I don't think you have a compression problem. I think that everything's too bright. The reason for that could be your speakers are dull or the tweeters are broken. Don't laugh. I've seen that happen. B, you listen so loud that within 30 minutes of mixing, your body protects itself, and everything you're no longer hearing reality, and your eardrums harden, and then you jack up the bottom the high end to compensate, and then you end up there. That's something that happens a lot. Or you're in a very bright room where your speakers excite the room in a way where everything's bright and you can't tell the difference between what's coming from the room, what's coming from the speakers. That's also, I've seen that happen. Like when the room is very live, for example, it's basically impossible to gauge what's going on. That's where headphones come in. Very useful headphones. And you don't have any vocals to place, so you could do a lot of work on headphones if you have a pair that you can trust. and save yourself that way. I think that would be my feedback for this track. Really good playing again. And this is not a problem of skills in this case, or if we want to call that a problem. If you want to enhance this, your problem is not the skills. You can, like, the drum, all the playing is great, the programming is good, everything is clearly done by somebody who knows what they're doing. I think it's more a vision thing. It's like, where do you want to be? What's your reference? What are you referencing this against? Is the reference something that really moves you, or is something that you yearn for? Those are two very different references. I would say, if you find a reference, I'm not very familiar with this style of music, so I can't give you, oh, listen to the so-and-so record, track 5. I don't have that in my knowledge base, but I'm sure you do. And so, or maybe a friend of yours does, or maybe somebody from the community does. And then that's why Mixtanks is for. And then use that as a new reference and update. And here's a quick word on going back on something that you feel is finished. It happens. I just finished a song for a fairly famous artist, and there were 37 recalls. 37 recalls. And so that could get very frustrating, especially since, you have other songs that you have to get to, and recall 27 was pretty awesome. And so the way I try to stay zen through that is I look at it as a learning experience. I dissociate the ego and the whole but it's great. It's my work. I cannot believe I'm working in these conditions. These people do not understand me. I don't do that. I might have done that in the past. I was young and foolish then. I'm definitely still foolish. But what I do now is I look at the situation as a learning experience. It's like, how can I grow from this? And that takes the focus away from all the time spent and the exhaustion and the frustration, and also the boredom of working on the same track forever. And I was like, okay, how can I make this better for myself as a practitioner of the art form? And how can I grow from this? Is a good way to look at it. So if you look at your track, this is great. It's great. How can you make it better? And how is that going to help you make the next one better, faster, so you can make more music and have more fun? I would say that would be a good angle to look at this in. So I was supposed to be doing this for 1 hour, and it's been 2+ hours. And unless Mark corrects me and tells me, no, dude, you're supposed to be doing this for 6 hours straight, then I will. But I think what we should do is assess if this is useful to you guys. Maybe you want to jump on the Facebook group or something, and we can discuss this. And if it's useful to you guys, we can do them more often, because it's actually kind of exhausting to be listening to music with this level of focus on earbuds for so long. So I'd rather do it more often than do it super long, if this is of value. And also we can invite other mentors if this is of value. So I will wait for your feedback. Mark, can you hear me? I'm going to assume yes.
Yes, I can. Yes,
Oh, there he is. So I think and there's one thing that feels horrible is when you know that some people want to get these tracks listened to and we don't get to them.
Right.
It sucks. I'm really sorry, and I apologize for everyone who didn't get their track listened to. I'm very sorry, but we will palliate this tragic injustice by doing this more often. And
Yes.
we are setting ourselves up for being able to do that.
Yeah,
and having more live events for you guys, and more in context feedback on your work. In the meantime, there's Mixtank, and Mixtank, the community in Mixtank is great. Like some of the tracks I just placed, there's like really awesome feedback from the community, and that makes me very proud and very happy. to be part of this community. So voila, that's it. Do you have anything you need to share with me, my friend, my invisible friend? Okay, what would you like to share?
Definitely. So I should be back in your view now. Okay, so guys, we had an incredible turnout in the YouTube chat today. That was awesome. Thank you so much for being there. And
Awesome.
Traditionally, how we've done these is we've just gone from the top and tried to get to as many as possible, but it doesn't always work out super fair because if you submit a mix 2 seconds before we go live, it's at the top of the list. So we tried something different today, and it was everybody who was in the live chat. Anybody who was posting their song, I was sending requests over to Fab and then trying to get to them that way, and I think that works out well for everybody who's attending live. If you guys have feedback on that, please let us know in the Facebook group. You can go to Pure Mixers, and we have a Facebook group. You can come in there and share your thoughts on how we're approaching these things, because it's pretty tricky. Like Fab can't sit here for 20 hours and not turn into a pile of goo at the end.
I'm already starting as a pile of goo, so you see where I would end up. I mean, I get on average on non-mixed takeover days, I never get less than 5 or 10 tracks in my various multiple inboxes, and I just can't listen to everything because that's all I would do. Literally, that's all I would do. And so this is what this is for. Maybe I like this concept of the people who are present are prioritized. I as a French guy who likes things to be community driven, I hate to leave anyone behind. It really is difficult for me, but there's just like only so much we can do. So the only way we can do is heighten the frequency of this. That's what we can do, and we're going to work on that. And maybe I can beg Guillaume to do a random thing, like program some random thing for Mixed Tank. So like a roulette thing. I mean, like poof, and that's the song we listen to, me or the other guys.
Right. That's a good idea. We had a couple questions from people who stumbled onto the stream that were wondering about how they, become a part of this. And the answer is on puremix.net, Puremix.net. We have a feature called Mix Tank, which is what Fab has been playing stuff in that you guys have seen on your screen. And you can go into Mix Tank, submit your track, and we regularly will post, if we're going to be doing one of these events, there will be a pop-up that says, there's a Mix Tank live takeover from one of the mentors happening on this date. And then when we get closer to that date, you can submit your mix. So in the interim, though, when we're not doing those, the community will respond and provide feedback on your mixes. I've used it a few times, and it's amazing. Fab, you have a person that works very closely with you named Tom that is at Flux, that is in there regularly, and Tom is amazing. He provides really, really, really solid feedback on mixes in there.
Tom is my prime assistant here. He is on most sessions. He does all my recalls, all the stemming, all the prepping of sessions, and he spends a lot of time with me. So we listen to a lot of music together. And he has extremely solid taste. He's also a badass drummer and a great guitar player. Great arranger. Is like an all-around super pro, making a living, making music in New York City at Flux and not at Flux, like all around the city. So it's great that he's giving feedback there. That's awesome.
Yeah, and chances are really, really, really high that Tom will provide feedback on your mix. So Tom, as well as the massive community that's already over there. So definitely check out Mix Tank if you haven't seen it yet. So.
Yeah, it's a really amazing tool, and we are doing everything we can to grow it so that there's more people on it, so that you get more feedback, so that you not. I know how hard it is to be alone in your room and not have just a sounding board that you can get advice or perspective. My newsletter this week coming out no later than very soon talks about perspective. Perspective is key, and Mixed Tank is your perspective. And so it's one of the ways to get perspective. That, and of course your mom's great for perspective. If she talks about something else while you play her the track, you should go back and remix it. That's what happens to me all the time. You play the track, it's like, so how about like listen to the music? Yeah, that happens.
Great.
All right.
Well, before
Fantastic.
we go, we should probably do one quick word about our newly released feature named Mix Up.
Yep.
And
So
yeah, go ahead.
you all pro members. So you have free access to a Mixup Pro account. It's our vision on the modern music making workflow. Been working on it for 3 years, and it's free to you. So if you make music and with other humans, or you want to share your music with other humans, like for example your mom, and you want to do it in an elegant manner, straight from your DAW, with great capability for feedback. You can also turn off the feedback in case you send it to your mother. And great delivery options, high quality streaming, and a very secure platform. And this is the way to go. I strongly recommend you try it. Mixup.audio. Do you want to add something, Mark?
Yeah, there's a plugin, and the plugin's insane because you can load up the plugin in your session, and you have a timeline with all the comments from all of your collaborators, and you can click on their comment, and it'll scroll the timeline of your DAW right to that point, and then you can A/B between your past mix and your current mix to check out the revision on it. So extremely handy.
Yeah.
I never want to not have Mix Up again. So
Also, you can send the link to your artists, and they can click on the link, and there's no friction. Meaning, once you click on the link, they can listen to the track now, and it's HD, so the quality is great, and they can leave comments right on their phone, or in their DAW, or in their browser. It's really classy and works awesome. So it's I use it every day. All the records I have, I don't know, hundreds of songs on Mixup, and it's also a great way to do show reels. You can make a playlist, and you can send a link to a playlist to, which is what I did. I was just in France. I met a bunch of labels, and they all asked me for a reel. What am I going to send them? A Dropbox link? No. I sent them a Mixup playlist, and now it shows up on their phones, or it shows up on their desktop, and they can press play, and they hear it in super high quality. It looks pretty, and it chains. And that's a great way to do a reel too. And so voila, that's the new tool that just came out from the Puremix team. Mixup.audio.
Since this is a Mix Tank thing, a lot of just the same way that you guys see comments in the timeline on Mix Tank. Imagine doing that with all of your collaborators. So that's a quick way to pitch it.
Exactly. Yeah. And also it's real time. So if you're working with somebody, you can post the mix and you can see their stuff in real time. You can chat in there. It really, from your DAW, you can chat with your client who is on the other side of the universe from your DAW. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Very proud of it. Yes.
Should be. Awesome. Just crazy level of work today. Nice job, everybody. Thanks for submitting your mixes and attending the stream live. And we'll see you next time.
All right.
Cool. Ciao.
Ciao.